coming to you live from the MediaPlex in downtown Windsor. This is a presentation of St. Clair College Journalism.
Good evening. I'm Marco Rovere, and you are watching MediaPlex News Now. February is Black History Month, remembering an important part of Canadian history. As Felicia Guyot reports, it's a history that needs to be celebrated and remembered together.
The 7th annual Windsor-Essex Joint Black History Month kicked off over the weekend. During Black History Month, Canadians celebrate the great contribution that Black Canadians have made throughout history. Irene Moore Davis, the president of Essex County Black Historical Resource Society, says Black History Month is a great opportunity to learn and popularize some little-known historical stories.
People don't know, for example, about the great community of really vibrant, dedicated anti-slavery activists or abolitionists who made their home here and did amazing things like establishing the first Black newspapers and anti-slavery organizations, and these wonderful organizations that settled the newly freed individuals.
The event invited dancers, poets, and musicians of Caribbean and African descent, as well as families of people who used the Underground Railroad. As the descendants of the Underground Railroad, T.J. Travis cared deeply about Black culture.
So it's important for us to reflect on the struggle of our ancestors, the journey that it took them, just so that we can enjoy the privileges that we have today.
There are more than 30 events are taking place this month in Windsor-Essex County around Black History Month. For more information, please visit amsterdamfreedom.org to see the full schedule. For MediaPlex News, I'm Felicia Guo.
A restaurant in Windsor evacuated after bear spray flows through the ventilation system at Windsor's Minghua Chinese Buffet. The restaurant was evacuated at about 8 p.m. Saturday. The manager, Ricky Kwong, said a white pepper-like smell started making its way to the main dining area. Customers then began to run out the door just minutes after. I wonder if they left a tip. Now let's head over to Albert Sharp, where he is standing by with an early look at the weather. Albert?
Right now we're holding steady at 0, but tonight it will drop to -5, but with wind chill, it'll feel like -10. Stay tuned, and I'll be back a little later in the show with the 3-day forecast. Back to you, Marco.
Canada is seeking approval to charter a plane for the 325 Canadians who have requested to return home from Wuhan, China. The coronavirus-afflicted province is currently in lockdown, but after the first confirmed death outside of China in the Philippines, Canadian government officials are preparing to bring them home. Passengers are asked to contact the Emergency Watch and Response Center in Ottawa and will have to undergo thorough health screenings and quarantine for 2 weeks post-approval. Friday, Steve Irwin, spokesperson for Windsor Regional Hospital, joined us at the MediaPlex to talk more about the coronavirus.
Okay, so there have been cases of coronavirus confirmed in Canada. What information do you have about these cases?
So for Windsor Regional Hospital locally, we're obviously in contact with Ontario Ministry of Health officials, the World Health Organization, others. Make sure we have the latest information, that we're informing our staff of what's going on, and that we're prepared in case there are cases that do show up to our hospital in Windsor. To this date, that hasn't happened, but we have to remain vigilant and diligent in our processes.
How likely do you think this virus is to reach Windsor region?
I've been told by authorities it's very low at this point, which is a good thing. We know that there's been a lot of containment to that region of China. We understand that there is some concern about cases around the world. The good thing I can say is that we haven't had those cases. With any flu virus, you react to it the same way, right? We're all concerned about catching anything, and that makes us sick. In this case, it's no different from a lot of flus, where if you are in a physical condition yourself, your medical history, where you're vulnerable to flu, maybe your white blood cell count is low, your ability to fight off infections is low, those are the people we would be most concerned about. But at this point, because we don't have a reported case locally, we just tell people, treat it like a normal flu, right? If you're concerned about your own health, see a healthcare practitioner, come to the hospital if absolutely necessary.
What are the plans of the city to mitigate this virus from spreading?
So for the hospital perspective, if someone came in and they're presenting with symptoms that are consistent with this virus, plus they have a recent travel history to that part of the world, or has been around someone who has, someone who shares a flight, for example, we have an ability to isolate that patient. We have protective equipment that our staff can wear. Those are the masks, the gowns, gloves in some cases, just to protect themselves against any virus that could be spread.
Thank you so much for coming.
MediaPlex News Now and Crime Stoppers have been partners for a number of years, and today we are joined by Karen Sinnaeve, who is standing by with Albert Sharp. Albert?
Thank you, Marco. I'm standing here with Karen Sinnaeve from Crime Stoppers with a Crime of the Week this week. Thank you for joining us, Karen.
Thank you for having us tonight, Albert.
And what do you have for us this week?
Well, our Crime of the Week is the Windsor Police Major Crime Unit are investigating a report of shots fired, 2900 block of Walker Road. Happened on this Sunday, February 2nd, past Sunday, sometime between the hours of 10 and 8:30 in the evening. We have a report of two vehicles, one being a white Chrysler Pacifica, and that was parked in a parking lot area in the 2900 block of Walker Road. And later on, there was a red Mazda that was reported with bullet holes in that vehicle. And police believe that the two incidences are connected. They're asking the public if they saw or heard anything during those hours, and if they possibly have any video surveillance, to review that video surveillance between those hours. And if they see anything suspicious on their cameras, they're to contact Windsor Police directly.
And where could we contact them?
You can contact at Windsor Police, but if you want to remain anonymous, you can use Crime Stoppers at 519-258-TIPS or go to our website at catchcrooks.com.
And what was that phone number again?
519-258-TIPS.
And what else do you have going on over at Crime Stoppers?
Well, we have our annual games dinner, February 28th. Tickets are $50, and we have anything from wild boar to ostrich to crocodile. It's a great night out. It's at Colasani's, February 28th.
That sounds fantastic, and we can try these meats across multiple different dishes, I understand.
Absolutely. They've got them doing in different recipes. So it's not just going there and cutting a piece of meat and eating it. They actually have chefs that have put together different dishes to enjoy.
Well, that sounds like an absolutely fantastic night, and we would like to thank you for coming out with us.
Thank you, Albert, for having us.
Well, thank you, Karen, for joining us. Back to you, Marco.
The Help Wanted sign is out at the Essex County Fire Department. They are looking for individuals who will fit the job. Max DeLiberato explains.
Essex Fire Rescue is looking for new recruits to join their team. The department is looking for 8 recruits to fill positions at various departments in the area. Chief of Fire Rick Arnell talked about what they're looking for in a recruit.
Well, what we're looking for in a new recruit is qualities is just a genuine person that wants to be able to help out their community. And all the training that we do and attributes that come with that we'll provide, and we will train each individual. But what we're looking for is someone in a recruit that would really like to help out their community and provide a service for their community.
Working with the fire department isn't all action, and it's important for anyone interested in recruitment to understand this.
Understandably, you hear the word fire and you think fire is the main thing we do, but it's down under the 10% range of the actual what we do in the job. We go out and assist people in some of the worst situations they can be in, car accidents or you know, and some of the things is that they don't understand is smoke alarms and CO alarms. We go out and we have the conversations with them, and we ensure that they understand what's going on.
Recruitment ends this Friday, February 7th. I'm Max DeLiberato, MediaPlex News.
Windsor Public Library has moved to a new downtown location. Prabhayev Nayak went for a tour.
The central branch of Windsor Public Library officially opened in the Paul Martin building at 185 Olet Avenue on Monday morning.
This change has taken about 2 years for us to accomplish, from the planning to the actual moving. It's been a huge undertaking. The old library at 850 Olet was sold to the Mission 2 years ago, and so since then we've been in a process of migrating down to 185 in the old Paul Martin.
The new branch moved into old space at the back side of the building which used to be a Canada Post sorting room.
We have books for adults, children's, teenagers, all ages. We also have books in many different languages.
The move is intended to be temporary, but a permanent location hasn't been pegged.
So I'm really excited about the next few years here at the Paul Martin Building, especially just because, I mean, everybody's excited, staff is excited, doing a lot of things that, again, being closer to the students and the people who use the library make this a great location.
For MediaPlex News, I'm Prabhav Nayak.
For the first time in 50 years, the Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. But many Canadians weren't as lucky with their betting. Bird Bouchard joins us live in studio to explain.
The Super Bowl is one of the busiest times of the year for sports bettors, and while they can still wager on this year's event, the odds are not in their favor. That's because single-game sports betting is still illegal in Canada.
Winner, Gagnon.
As the Super Bowl grabbed the world's attention Sunday night, many Canadian bettors had the odds stacked against them. Local MPP Brian Massey has been working for over a decade to legalize single-event sports betting, saying Canadian cities are behind the times when it comes to the practice. He believes with Michigan on track to get single-event sports betting legalized by April, time is ticking away.
We get contacted from people from Ohio, from Indiana, from Michigan, asking about the status of single-event sports gaming in Canada. With Michigan coming online, they're going to get it sooner. It'll be about customer retention. It's much harder to get people back when you lose them.
Back in October, Lakeshore Mayor Tom Bain claimed single-game sports betting would only cause problems with the horse racing in the region. Now, much like Massey, he thinks it's time to act, worrying the American market is slipping away.
The longer we sit on it and don't do something, the more of the market we're losing, especially that American market.
Mahomes all day. David Oriot has been betting on sports for nearly a decade. While he enjoys betting legally, he believes betting online is much more attractive.
Nobody wants to, dabble in certain sports that they know nothing about. Like I said, it having to be parlayed or paired with another game, of course, forces people to go online.
The Canadian Gaming Association estimates Canadians are wagering around $10 billion annually on illegal bookmaking operations. They also say Caesars Windsor would benefit as an additional 100 full-time jobs would be implemented if the bill were passed.
Brian Massey also tells me the process of getting single-game sports betting legalized is quite simple. He says it's a two-line sentence in the criminal code that needs to be retracted, and the word "or" needs to be added in another sentence. But despite the easy fix, he says we need to act quickly, with Michigan currently on track to legalize single-game sports betting by April, just in time for March Madness's Final Four. Back to you.
The Bluestones band includes singer Tariq Jafar from Windsor, who have been nominated for a Juno Award. Dunya El Haddad tells us more.
Our first event, I remember we played our first show at a place that's closed down now, but it was called the Chubby Pickle. And it was like our first time doing any kind of live music, and we invited all our friends out, and we were nervous as hell, but that was our first official show, and I remember seeing our friends I can't even believe you do this. How did we not know?
The Bluestones formed in Windsor in 2011 and have played at The Dugout, Fog Lounge, Capitol Theatre, and more. They were recently nominated for Breakthrough Group at the Juno Awards.
So great to be recognized by your country like that, and even just to be nominated is just a huge honor. It's something that we've always, dreamed of being, so it's nice to have it happen.
Hard work and skill are the main ingredients to the Bluestones' recipe for success. Make sure to tune in to the Juno Awards on Sunday, March 15th, 2020 to see the results. My name is Danielle Haddad, reporting from MediaPlex News. Back to you in the studio.
Let's go over across the studio where Albert is standing by with our 3-day forecast. Albert?
So the big news is no shadow for Wyerton Willie, and that means an early spring. Let's have a look at our 3-day forecast. On Wednesday, we will have a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 0. Thursday seems to be the high alert day with periods of freezing rain or snow. And Friday, the weekend kicks off with a chance of flurries and a high at 0. Come to think of it, I haven't seen my shadow in a while. I hope that's a good sign. Back to you, Marco.
On the subject of mental health, it's the 1-year anniversary of Windsor's mobile outreach and support team. Madeline Mazak tells us why they have many reasons to celebrate.
As most people head home after the workday, Windsor's mobile outreach team is just getting started.
5 nights a week, a van travels across the city and opens its doors to those experiencing homelessness, mental health issues, and addiction. As part of the City of Windsor's budget approval on Monday, the outreach team will receive an additional $70,000, which will allow them to add a 4th member to the team.
It's been a great expansion, much needed in our community right now with the housing crisis and homeless population in Windsor-Essex.
The program is a collaboration between Family Services Windsor-Essex, Assisted Living Southwestern Ontario, the Canadian Mental Health Association, and Hotel Dieu Grace Hospital.
Do this every night or just
yep,
week?
Monday to Friday. Monday to Friday. They might want to extend it to weekends. Having the van be mobile and hitting different areas that we've targeted as like high traffic is important, and having the ability to be after hours is good, because if we can't connect with people during the daytime, we're missing a huge target of people, and they might fall through the cracks.
On any given night, the team can be found handing out socks and snacks, providing medical care, and referring visitors to other community services. For some, it's about seeing a friendly face and finding connection.
I know a lot of people, when you're down and out, you're hesitant about asking for help. So I mean, it's nice to have this van. Like, people come out, talk. A small conversation with somebody can make their day, their week. You have no idea what someone's going through.
Looking ahead, the team hopes to extend their hours and operate 7 days a week. For MediaPlex News, I'm Madeline Mazak.
Bell Let's Talk Day was buzzing again on Wednesday, January 30th across the world. Here in Windsor, Liam Adams was at the university to hear the students' conversation about mental health.
Bell Let's Talk Day is a mental health awareness campaign raising money through social media shares and views. Many Canadians took to Twitter to express their solidarity. Students at 231 post-secondary institutions discussed mental health and learned more about what supports are available to them. The University of Windsor took part in the cause by hosting many events throughout this past week through their Revive and Thrive movement. Janessa Shaw, a University of Windsor student in psychology and a wellness initiative assistant, helped organize and run the events.
So this week we're encouraging them to explore the 5 ways to end stigma, educating themselves, being kind to themselves and to other people. Language matters, so being mindful of the language that they're using when they're talking about mental health, talking about it, so breaking that stigma, sharing their experiencing, encouraging others to share too, and also listening and asking. So taking that time to ask other people how they're doing, really listening to other people and learning from their experiences. And we're hoping that we're starting the conversation this week, but we'll keep that conversation going throughout the rest of the year.
More than $108 million has been raised by Bell over the last 10 years towards combating the stigma of mental health and to continue the conversation. If you or anyone you know is battling mental illness, please seek help from these resources listed. For MediaPlex News, I'm Liam Adams.
Doug Ford visited the Windsor area 2 weeks ago, and among the Tories' announcements that day was a commitment to widen Highway 3 to 4 lanes between Essex and Leamington. Tyler Steen looked into how Windsor-Essex residents can support this expansion.
The planned expansion of 2 lanes to 4 lanes is going to be from here in Essex, where Highway 3 meets County Road 8, to here in Leamington, approximately 26 kilometers away, where Highway 3 meets Highway 77. For daily commuters like Marissa Wingerden, who drives from Kingsville to Windsor, she knows how dangerous a 2-lane highway can be.
I find as soon as you get to the widened area of number 3, traffic runs so much smoother. It feels less dangerous because there's less people weaving in and out of cars constantly. I think an expansion would be a huge problem solver.
OPP Constable Jim Root believes that the expansion may or may not reduce accidents along Highway 3. Ultimately, driving safely is the solution.
Regardless of the roadway that people drive on, it comes down to people abiding by traffic rules, the speed limit, and being aware of the surroundings.
The government survey covers public transportation, infrastructure, upkeep and repair, and other region-specific projects, but there is no direct mention of the highway expansion. The survey will be online until March 17th this year and can be accessed by Googling Connecting Southwestern Ontario Survey. This is your opportunity to have your voice heard. For MediaPlex News,
I'm Tyler Stein.
Last Wednesday marked the third year since a mosque shooting in Quebec left 6 Muslim men dead. Since then, the Islamic community in Windsor has done its part to commemorate and show support for those affected. Patrick White reports.
What you're hearing is called Adhan, the call to prayer sounding from the minaret of Windsor Islamic Association Mosque. It was a somber evening prayer, January 29th, last Wednesday, when the community commemorated 3 years since the Quebec mosque shooting. Mizra Beg, president of the Windsor Islamic Association, recalls how his community showed their support after the deadly mosque shooting in Quebec.
A delegation from the Windsor Islamic Association, soon after the event, left for Montreal. Before going, we had a fundraising event, like a formal fundraising, where we collected over to $200,000, and that money was taken in person by this delegation.
People of all ages and walks of life attend daily prayer and leisure time at the mosque.
Islamophobia is just like a stereotype, just like people assuming that like only Chinese people have the coronavirus for now.
Moyed Ahomzi, who moved to Windsor around 2 years ago, said he sees less of it here than where he is from.
In Quebec, yeah, for example, you would see a lot of stuff, a lot of hate for Islam, and there's no reason in it.
Since the year of this attack, according to Stats Canada, in Ontario, the number of hate crimes against Muslims were up 207%. Now bear in mind, these numbers only reflect those reported cases, and the study acknowledges that most hate crimes go unreported. The National Council of Canadian Muslims has been petitioning the government at provincial and federal levels to designate January 29th as a day of remembrance and action on Islamophobia. Imam Mohammed
The Windsor Police Service is working on improving gender balance and equality within the workplace. Joyce St. Antoine reports.
Gender balance has been a well-documented issue at the Windsor Police Service for a long time, but since Windsor hired Pam Mizuno as its first ever female police chief in 2019, change is coming rapidly. Over the past 9 years, the police service has seen an increase in female presence through hiring, inspiring, and recruiting. Sergeant Robert Wilson has noticed the issue of gender equality within the workplace and believes that improving the balance would reflect the community.
Well, when you look at the numbers, you have to say it's been an issue, because when you look at our community with basically 50% male and 50% female, I know the Windsor Police is hovering around, I think it's a 17 or 18% female workforce. So I know Windsor Police itself is striving for a service with that basically represents and reflects our community.
Tammy Fryer is an inspector at the Windsor Police and said she started 30 years ago when there were only 10 women on the job.
Now we have about 100 women on the job, maybe 104 to 400 men. So, you know, the numbers are increasing, but I think that we've always had an issue in this profession, and that's Canada-wide, trying to make it an equal workplace.
Sergeant Briscoe says a diverse force improves community policing.
Sometimes we go to sexual assaults and the victim will request a female officer, and then male officers will request for me to attend. So it's important to get females on the job, because for us, there are certain jobs that we are required in. And also, I feel like we have more of a calming approach when it comes to calls.
MediaPlex News, I'm Joyce St. Antoine.
Let's join Joyce St. Antoine for an entertainment minute.
Are you a Disney fan, or are you a live-action remake fan? Well, if you prefer these movies over the older animated ones, the Mulan live-action remake trailer has recently dropped.
It is what is best for our family.
Yes, I will bring honor to us all.
We've had Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, and now another princess movie. Although she is not exactly a princess, the warrior is just one of many others to come. Upcoming movies such as Cruella from 101 Dalmatians, The Sword and the Stone, and Lilo and the Stitch, and many others are rumored to be cast within the next year or two. It's been 22 years since the Mulan animated movie was released, but but the premise of the new movie is still the same. When the Emperor of China issues a decree that one man per family must serve in the Imperial Chinese Army to defend the country, Han Mulan, the eldest daughter of an honored warrior, steps in to take the place of her ailing father. She is spirited, determined, and quick on her feet, but there's a catch. She must be disguised as a man. Mulan is tested every step of the way and must harness her innermost strength and embrace her true potential. In this rendition, the remake won't feature any songs from the original film, said female director Nikki Caro. Caro also directed The Zookeeper's Wife and Disney's McFarlane's USA. I'm not a huge fan of remakes, but for this flick, I have high hopes.
Who doesn't enjoy a cup of joe? I think Brett Blake is buying. Let's find out.
Let me guess. You woke up this morning and either before, on the way, or at the office you had a delicious cup of that socially acceptable chemical dependence. Don't worry, me too. Now, did you use your Tim's Rewards Pass or Starbucks card? According to a 2019 study by the Canadian Coffee Association, 20% of coffee drinkers use some type of loyalty card, jumping 4% from 2018. 7% ordered through an app, 5% had it delivered, both not moving from their 2018 spot. The study shows that the coffee and tap water are the two most commonly consumed beverages by Canadians. Now, the average Canadian drinker drinks about almost 3 cups of coffee per day. That's over 1,000 cups of coffee in a year. A common misconception is that a lot of people think that dark roast coffee has more caffeine than the regular roast, when in fact, it actually has a lot less because the darker the roast means the caffeine was burned out. If you're looking more for a caffeine kick, go for a lighter roast. I'm Britt Blake, and this was your Health Minute.
And last but not least, but always weird, here's Zachary Bailog with his wacky weekly report.
Hey everybody, it's the weirdest man you know with the weirdest stories that are impossible to make up. Be careful where you're steering that Wiener-mobile. The New York Post reports that the famed Oscar Mayer Wiener-mobile got pulled over in Wisconsin. According to deputies, the driver was stopped and given a verbal warning by the sheriff for not obeying the move over law for emergency vehicles. Just when you thought that Wiener couldn't turn right. For emergency vehicles, make your own jokes at home. Hey, you know what time it is? It's time
Florida man, Florida man.
Stealing, cursing, even taking longer than usual breaks. Those are just some of the things that may get you fired. But what about farting? That's right, you heard me. The Tampa Bay Times reports a man known as Paul Flart was working as a security guard in Polk County. However, one day he got so bored he just let him rip. Flart started recording fart videos at work and then posting them on the internet. He was fired for excessive cell phone use. If farting can make you famous, I'm gonna stop holding it in while I'm on the air. Okay, now it's a party. California, known for its wine country, is living up to its name. The Daily Mail reports that 97,000 gallons of red wine spilled from a storage tank at a vineyard. It then leaked into the Russian River. Surprised it wasn't vodka. The Cabernet Sauvignon, or as my buddy Tyler says, Cabernet Sauvignon, spilled from a vineyard storage tank and into the river. Some say they saw the animals acting like Britney Spears. If you ever want to hear the latest edition of Weird News, tune into our radio show Friday Live on MediaPlex Radio at 10 a.m. I'm your favorite weirdo, Zachary Balog.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Marco Rovere, and you've been watching MediaPlex News Now.
MediaPlex News Now is a production of the St. Clair College Journalism Program.